Welcome back, beautiful souls. My name's Annie Henderson. I'm a life coach here in North Texas, and I'm so glad you're here because today we are going to be going over the wheel of emotions, or whatever you have called it before. So I have polled my private people pleaser community. If you don't know what that is and you're intrigued and you're interested, go to my site, AMh&x.com, scroll down, and there is a free group for those struggling with people-pleasing tendencies. That used to be me so very long ago, and I love helping my clients with this kind of thing. So Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. Central is when we go live. And today, as we were going over this topic, I asked if they would prefer me to do one big long one about the wheel of emotions and how to use this to better our lives and our mindset, or if they would like a series on all of these different sections with little tips to help in that process. And overwhelmingly, it was series. So buckle in. There is going to be a series of these different emotions. So if you've seen the movie In and Out, you might be familiar with these core: fear, anger, disgust, sad, happy, and surprise. Let me know in the comments if you've seen that movie, and if there's a certain quote or scene that just has touched your heart or made you have an aha or cracked you up. Let me know in the comments. So one reason that I want to talk about these emotions, years ago, a year or so, my private coaching group, we went through the book Atlas of the Heart by the amazing Brene Brown. And one of Brene's quotes is, "Clear is kind." So whether it is Brene saying clear is kind, or the 4 agreements talking about don't make assumptions, right? The more clear we are with our vocabulary regarding emotions is helpful not only to us, but others that are in our lives. So today we are going to start with this section, and it might be flipped for you. If so, I will read it to you so that we are all on the same page. This main section right here says sad. How many times have we used the word sad? I'm so sad. But sometimes we use it to cover a wide variety, a wide range of emotions, but we simplify it to I'm sad. And sometimes that can be confusing to ourselves as well. So the beauty of this wheel is that it kind of goes into these other, this vocabulary that can help us better explain and understand ourselves when we start to have some of these sad feelings arise. So the first one is it a sadness that has some guilt to it? If you're one of my people pleaser community, or if that's something that you relate to, then guilt is something that we can kind of self-impose and we can feel a lot. And sometimes when we're learning to set new boundaries, someone else might push back against us, and it can make us feel guilty. But a lot of times what I've noticed is with my clients, when they're feeling guilty, they are doing it to themselves. They are fearful of saying no because it feels selfish. It feels bad, mean, or wrong. So they continue to say, yes, yes, I'll do this. Yes, because that guilt can be overwhelming. Next up is abandoned. Whew, that's actually a word I hear quite a lot as a therapist previously and as a life coach. And abandonment, which is a real thing, right? I'm not saying don't use some of these words, but what I want you to be aware of throughout this whole series is some of these words are definitely more intense. And if we choose to use a very intense word, when another word will do the trick, we are flooding our body with chemicals. We are making ourselves more anxious than possibly we need to even be. So just be aware as we go through these. So abandoned. Sometimes we use some black and white thinking and black and white language. And so it might be the words that are attached to these words. So if the word's abandoned, am I saying everyone has abandoned me? Right? Notice how that word changes a lot. Right? If I have some abandonment issues. I have been abandoned before in my past. The phrase everyone has abandoned me is usually some catastrophizing. It's extreme and isn't quite the truth. So whether back in my school counselor days, my first grade teacher days of working with little kids, and when they use extremes like no one, everyone, I never get picked, or I'm always last, this is what I need you to do. Same thing as what I did with those little kids, and that's just asking a question or two to clarify if that's actually true. So whether it's, so like in our people pleaser group, right? If you are needing some community, if you're going in there and you're saying like, everyone's abandoned me, then the easy version for that one is, has this group abandoned you, right? Do you have a safe place that you can come? And that's oh yeah, I can. So really being aware of the words that you're painting on the canvas of your life with, because we can be really intentional about our words. All right, the next one is despair. Despair. So notice 0 to 10, how intense is that word? And for everyone, it might be different. It could be, did my mom use that a lot growing up? Does this word, is it attached to something else that really is triggering? So where does despair fall on the intensity chart for you? For me, it sounds like it's in that upper half, something that's pretty intense. Depressed. So that's a word that has a diagnosis, right? If you're needing a diagnosis of being depressed clinically, then you go to a psychiatrist, right? A doctor, a therapist, someone that's going to give you that diagnosis. Sometimes we use it to express that we are sad, right? Sometimes it's momentary. Sometimes it's situational depression. Sometimes it's seasonal depression. But really being aware of the words that we paint ourselves with. Lonely. So sad can be despair, or it can just be, I'm a little lonely. Which is why we don't use sad to explain all of these feelings. It can be, I'm sad because I'm feeling lonely, right? So we can kind of partner these up to make a complete sentence. And then even when it comes to lonely, am I lonely this weekend because I didn't make any plans? Am I lonely because I've been single for 30 years? Am I lonely because I'm too nervous to reach out or to start a hobby? So one thing this does, and you can find this image for free on the internet, right? You could get it and get a pillow cover like me as well. There's clocks, there's stickers. These are everywhere. So whether it's just saving the image to your phone so that you can have access and you can really be aware. Last week, we did a YouTube video on a car dashboard and seeing what pops up. So just because a light on the dashboard pops up doesn't mean that all of these apply. So really being able to be intentional and look and see if there's a better option and choice for you. And down here is bored. It's kind of like lonely. Am I bored because I'm an extrovert and I need to be fueled up by being around other people? Am I bored because I just finished my book? Am I bored because I'm addicted to my phone and my phone is dead? Am I bored because I don't have any hobbies because I'm fearful of going out and meeting new people? So even within these individual words, really diving deep and seeing what applies, what can be adjusted. If choosing a particular word makes you feel worse, then I would suggest looking and seeing what other options that you have. Or deciding, oh, I'm feeling this, what can I do about it? And if you don't know, then reach out to me. If you need a life coach, if you need help navigating your emotions or next steps or future goals, then sign up for a consultation call at AMh&x.com. All right, so let's go to this outside section. Sad, right? If instead of using that specific piece, maybe you're remorseful, right? Maybe you're feeling remorse for something that you did and it's making you sad. Maybe there needs to be some self-forgiveness work that you do with a life coach or counselor. Maybe it's just a temporary thing. I'm remorseful for what I just said, but tomorrow I'll be better. Ashamed. Whew, that's a big one. Whether it's us shaming ourselves based off how we were raised, or feeling shamed by church or parents or grandparents. So really noticing where the shame is coming from. Is it a momentary, something recent? Is it something from my past that maybe I need to do this work so that I can release some of this shame? If you aren't aware of Brené Brown, definitely dive into her work. Her research is on shame and vulnerability. So if shame and vulnerability are sensitive words that you try to avoid, if you are wanting to grow, if you're wanting to evolve, then challenge yourself, dive into her work, or reach out to me and let's work on this, because it doesn't have to take forever. It doesn't have to take the same 30, 40 years that it took to get you here. It can be, you know what? I'm sick of this. I'm wanting to work on it now, this year, so that next year gets to look completely different. Or by fall or by Christmas, I get to experience life in a different way. That is an option for you. Even if right now you're saying, everyone but me, not me, that's not true. Okay, next is ignored. I'm feeling ignored. I heard this word come up today, but it was maybe someone else is feeling ignored once you start to use boundaries. Oh, sometimes it's just their discomfort. So noticing, if you haven't read the 4 Agreements, again, I have a video on it, but grab that book, because setting boundaries is a healthy thing to do. It's a necessary thing. So feeling ignored, again, instead of just going, everyone's ignoring me, right? And using that extreme language, asking yourself, why do I feel ignored? Is it because I'm used to getting instant responses from people and this person's at work or on vacation? Or maybe I'm realizing I'm addicted to my phone, so I'm used to that dopamine hit, but I'm not actually being ignored. Those people are busy. Those people are at work. Those people are on a tech-free Sunday. Next is, am I sad because I'm victimized? Am I victimized? And this can be, again, used in, it can be overused, right? If you are a victim, then yes, that word is appropriate for you. But sometimes we feel victimized and we might overuse that. And sometimes when we overuse a word, it loses its value and its meaning. And sometimes we make a situation worse by choosing an inappropriate word for that situation. Let me know. Take a moment, go into the comments. Even if you've already commented, that's okay. Let me know. Is there one of these words so far that is ringing a bell with you? Does that make sense how you can overuse a word? Next up is powerless. And that can be similar to victimized. I feel like it's maybe a notch down on intensity. I'm feeling powerless. How? Why? What can I do to empower myself? Who can I reach out to? How can I talk to myself differently so that I don't also make myself feel powerless? Vulnerable, that's the one we just talked about when thinking about Brené Brown. You can tell where my bookshelf is just by where my eyes go. When I refer to the book, I look in that direction. So silly. Next is inferior. Am I actually inferior? Do other people think I'm inferior? Or is this something I'm placing on myself? Is this something my friends or family or others would actually agree with? Or is it just something in my head? Empty. Kind of reminds me of lonely. Empty. Do I feel like I don't have a purpose? Why do I feel empty? So instead of just labeling yourself and being done with it, ask a friend, ask, have you ever felt empty before? And see what their response is. What can you do to feel more fulfilled, right? How do you fill your bucket? Abandoned, we already talked about. Some of these are repeats. Isolated, right? COVID isolation was very different than isolated, but sometimes that can appear at work or at home or with siblings. Apathy, and then indifferent. Are you feeling indifferent? Right? So sad might be pretty intense. Indifference, almost closer to neutral. Like, I'm just indifferent. Depending on who it is, though, it can be more extreme, right? It could be, oh, I'm indifferent to what happens. It could be, I'm indifferent. I don't care. It doesn't matter anymore. I'm that sad. So really, this isn't to help anyone else. It is to help you understand yourself, to be able to communicate. So if there is maybe a relationship in the future that you're wanting, or maybe you're in a relationship right now, being able to communicate in a clear way where both you and everyone else, right? If you have kids, being able to open up their vocabulary to where they can speak to things like this and share and be open and vulnerable without having a very limited vocabulary. What did you think? I hope this was helpful. Next week, we'll have the second feeling. So you'll have to come back, right? Mark your calendar if you're not subscribed, and hit the notification button so you'll know when this next round, this next video in the series pops up. Go ahead and do that. Comment so I know that you're participating in this series, and any takeaways. If there was a word from this section that you are ready to choose differently, be more intentional, let me know in the comments. If there's something that stood out to you, let me know. I'm here for you. If you are looking for a coach, let's talk. And feel free to check out any of my other videos. They are here for you to watch and rewatch whenever you are ready. I hope to see you back next week as we continue to explore this wheel of emotions.